are 28. But so far only 11 have joined. Still time is there. I think they will join.
Yeah. And all participants from Northeast only.
No, sir. Many from Northeast. Some 14, 15 are from Assam and Manipur.
Okay.
But then a few are from BHU, few are from West Bengal, Kalyani University, and few from southern part also.
And what is the background? Which stream they are? Social science or?
All mix up, sir. It is faculty induction program, so all mix up.
Yeah. Okay. Now, because induction programs focus on many dimensions, but what you have assigned me, that is research gap.
Yes.
And this is very important because some of them might be doing research also and supervising research also. And this lecture will help them to understand a very small but very important and almost neglected dimension of thesis writing, that is research gap.
Yes, sir.
In my almost 40 years of teaching and research guiding, I have this experience. There's at least 95% of students while writing their thesis, they miss this point, which is very important and which is linked between the review and then the research questions and then hypothesis, and they miss. I don't know why they miss. Either supervisors don't focus on that, or they don't have much idea about that. Although it is only a half page or 1 or 2 paragraphs only of the thesis,
yes.
But this is very important.
That bridges the gap between the review and the objectives.
Yeah. That's why I've taken this point. Otherwise, I would love to have some other issues, because in induction program you take multi-dimensional issues of personality development also.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Then I wanted to actually take a class on defense or armed forces. That is my special area of interest.
Oh, okay, sir.
Yeah. And very simple. Then suppose some army officer, navy officer, air force officer is passing through street, and you see in the uniform. Then how can you know that whether he is a commander or lieutenant or general, whatever? That is the basic thing. The first recognize the armed forces person, then you have the patriotic feeling and respect for them.
Yes.
That is very important. That is my special area, and an entire nation I have delivered lectures of this issue. That is patriotic, very patriotic, and some very interesting story, rituals about armed forces that every Indian must know to be a good citizen, and patriotic feelings are very much required.
Okay, yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Sure, sir. That is my. I have served with the NCC Navy for 25 years.
Oh, okay.
And I superannuated as lieutenant commander. Yeah. So a lot of experience of armed forces also, and now it is becoming very important that you know that in NEP also, this is an integral part.
Yes.
Integral part of NEP also. And the new syllabus of UG, they have made one special subject, that National Cadet Corps, NCC. That is very important. And many universities and colleges don't have the NCC facility for their students, but that is very important. At least training of the NCC makes you a better citizen. That I personally believe.
These were there long back also. When I was a student in school, then I was part of Scouts and Guides.
Yeah.
Then in class 11th, I joined Navy.
Okay.
Navy, that I forget that certificate, what they used to call C or something.
B certificate and then C certifictic.
C, okay. So that I joined for some time.
First you appear in B certificate, and then after passing the B, you join for C certificate. Yeah.
So I could only join. I couldn't finish that part. One thing is because of my specs also. High power is there. So that was one of the reasons.
Till now, still less number of participants are there.
It's some 14 or 15 are there. I will just make another.
14. It shows 14, but I hope it includes both of us also.
Yes. Two.
That number becomes 14. Yeah.
I'm just making a message to them again.
Okay. No problems. Because it is a very long issue, but I will try to summarize within the reserved time of 90 minutes.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So that I can leave, and we have other engagements also at 12 o'clock in the university also.
Oh, okay, okay, sir. Okay. Sir, in this course, participants are not having access to audio, so they will be putting their question in chat box. So whenever they are
Okay.
posting, I will pose this question to you, sir.
Okay, okay, okay. There is no QA as interaction, question, not interaction.
Yeah. It is through chat box or question answer box,
Okay.
not
Okay.
directly.
Okay.
Actually, sir, earlier our experience is sometime by mistake, some participant leave audio open. So that creates
Yeah,
problem, noise for
naturally,
others.
certainly.
And very difficult to hold all of them. So
Mhm.
sending message, then calling them to switch off and all those.
No, there is the option also that you can mute them,
Mute
all the
all.
parts. So you can mute them as administration. You can also mute them. Their options are there. Yeah. That is why armed forces training is important, so that you are very punctual as far time is concerned. 10 means 10, not 1 minute past, not 1 minute before 10. Yeah,
That's true, sir.
that is the first. Punctuality is the first step of success.
Yes. Whatever be the force, sir. Whatever be the
Yeah. First, teachers should
teachers.
also. Yeah,
I
100%.
remember my days, those teachers who used to come late in the class, they were less respected than those who are very
Mhm.
punctual.
And in my such a long experience in the as a teacher, my students used to see their watches when I enter the class, and the exact dot 10, not 1 minute past. They will adjust their watches when I enter. That is another aspect of your personality. Then I will start my presentation with this sentence only, timing.
Okay, okay.
That is also one of the important component for induction program also.
Yeah, yes.
I
Very,
will
very
give them,
important.
I will give them a formula, triple P, PPP.
Okay.
Usually PPP in economics or finance is known as purchasing power parity.
Yeah.
And in it is also known as public-private partnership
Partnership.
in industry or in infrastructure. But my PPP is different. That I will share with all the participants what my PPP means, and that will also a big message to them also. Okay, what is the meaning of PPP, which is a very important for all the teachers, especially young faculty members. Green tea.
So now 19 are there, including V2. So
Now it
17,
is now it is 20.
19, 20 now.
Yeah.
So we may start and few may be joining in next 5 minutes. Because
Okay.
you're having some other engagement also, so better we finish.
Yeah, because whatever time you have assigned me, that is 11:30.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Because I have a PhD Viva in the university,
Oh, okay, okay.
and some extra examination will land at Allahabad at 11:30. Plane lands at 11:30.
Oh, okay,
By
okay.
the time he comes out from the airport, then I must be there to receive him
Oh,
and
yes.
handle the Viva. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, now
So,
it is.
permit,
I
sir,
think it is. Yeah. Just one minute. I will take just 1 minute. Have some hot water, that because time was there. I asked somebody just bring the hot. half glass of hot water so that I can start now. It is now 20. The total, what is total number? I just
28, sir. 28.
Oh, 28. Okay. 28 participants, and out of 28, 20 are there.
20 are there, yes.
But what is the minimum number required by the as per UGC norms are concerned now?
20, sir.
20. Okay.
20.
Okay, somebody told me it is now increased to 40. I think 40 is a bigger number.
With online systems, actually some relaxations are there.
Yes. It is its own drawbacks and own benefits also.
Yes, certainly, sir.
Because offline is more effective.
Yes.
As compared to online, but online is a cost saving, and you can have the large number of resource persons from different parts of the country and abroad also.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Because earlier there were limitations on offline, not more than so and so, not more than so and so, so a kilometer also. At least this much is there, and UGC is now able to save a lot of money also.
Yes.
Just I will take 1 minute.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now, because number of now 21. Okay, then let us start.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So, dear friends, today we are having a senior faculty member from Faculty of Commerce, Allahabad University. He is Professor Prashant Kumar Ghose. We invited him for a talk, and he agreed for that. Thank you, sir, for giving your consent and be ready for that on time. He came, he joined before time, and we are a little late as compared to him. He is a senior member of faculty in Faculty of Commerce, so he's having experience in commerce. But as I was not knowing, he just informed that he is having long association with armed forces also. So that was actually I am ignorant of that info, that part.
Yeah.
But as I know, sir, you are having interest in literature also, and poetry, and Guljar Sahab is your friend.
Not friend, my guru.
Guru, okay, yes.
Not
yes.
friend. Yeah, my guru.
So we all enjoy his writings. So you are from that line, and then you are a person of commerce. So, and your seniority, he is presently Dean of Faculty of Commerce. So, from Allahabad University, which is one of the oldest university in India. And today he has chosen a topic, very appropriate topic, which usually we researchers sometimes ignore. We write 15, 20, 30 pages of review of literature, and we jump to objective of the study. But in between, there is a link. Unless we have that bridge, why we are reviewing? What is the purpose of reviewing anything? Why we review 50 papers? Just to know that what is the gap, what is not researched area. So that is the purpose of review of literature. And we missed to mention that half page, 1 page maximum, but that bridge is a missing place. So we were not willing to miss this bridge in our course. So I requested him to speak on the course, and he agreed for that. So, sir, now time is yours, sir. You can take up.
Okay. Thank you for a wonderful introduction, and good morning to all the participants also. As I have been informed that you are from different parts of the country, including Uttar Pradesh also. Now, before starting my presentation, I would like to mention that I was just discussing before you joined, all of you joined, that there is a concept called PPP, triple P. For the Faculty of Commerce and Economics and Finance, it simply means either purchasing power parity theory, or it means public-private partnership as far as infrastructure and the economic collaborations are concerned. But to all the faculty members, I would like to share that I have also developed myself one PPP model for all of you. The first P means punctuality. That is the first most important indicator or element of a teacher, punctuality. Be punctual, on time. And second P is planning, means you must plan your lecture before you come to the class. Devote your time in planning. And third P is push or promote your students to excel in their studies and excel in their career and life. That triple P is very important, which connects the teachers and students together. And that's why I was missing that time was 10 o'clock, but most of you joined after 10. In defense, we go by not by minutes or hours, but by seconds. If it is 10, it means 10, not 30 seconds past 10 and not 30 minutes before 10. I believe that is very important for us effective teacher, successful teacher also. And please, you must remember this triple P. That is the basic meaning of such induction programs. Then in the earlier time of your career, if you develop these qualities, then you naturally become, with the passage of time, you become very effective teacher. The punctuality, planning, and promoting or pushing. That is the three elements. And from that, I started today's presentation. And as in introduction, it was told that I will take a very interesting issue of research, because most of you must have already completed your PhD or must be going for postdoc, or you must be supervising the candidates for the research. And when you supervise your candidate for research, you must focus on a very small point, but very important point, that is a research gap. Now, today I will discuss for next 90 minutes or so, what is research gap, what is importance, what are the methodology, what are the models, and so many nitty-gritties about, and how actually we write the research gap, how you frame the sentences. It is only a half page or one or two small paragraphs of your thesis, but that is a missing link. If you miss that link, your whole chain of thesis actually got distorted. So I want that to focus on this part very seriously, because in my long career as a teacher, faculty members, and examiner on thesis and supervisor, I have seen a large number of students just miss this point, which is very important. I don't know why they miss. And I believe that after this lecture, when you will supervise your students, you will not miss that point, and then make it very emphasize and make it very important for your students to devote at least a few paragraphs on this part also. Therefore, I just want to tell you what is research gap and how we do it. Now I'm giving my presentation. Is it visible to everybody?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. The topic of the presentation is the quest for research gap. I will just start from ground zero and develop it to 100%. How you find the research gap, what is the importance, what are the methods, how it is a link between different components of research, and so on. Now, when we talk about research, my first question is a very famous question of Albert Einstein. He says, if we knew what it was we were doing, it would not be called research, would it? this one sentence focuses effectively on the issue of research. There is a difference between search and research. And that is why he says, if we knew what it was, that is not research. And that is the point where the issue of research gap comes. It means what we know and what we don't know, a link between these two, that creates the research gap. Now, just I will give you a puzzle, which is very simple and which we used to go through when we were very young kids. Because I can't interact with you, as I was told. I can't discuss the things. You cannot say something and I can't answer in voice. There, how many squares do you see? I think everybody will say 1. Very good. Now I'm just expanding this. How many squares do you see? Now you note down, because I can't listen to you. What is your answer going in your mind? Must be knowing, which is very simple, to count the squares, including the 1 square within which there are 4 other squares are there. It is very simple also. Now I'm just expanding. How many squares do you see now? Now it is becoming a little difficult to understand, although it is very simple. And when you expand it further, okay, how many squares do you see now? Now you keep on counting and memorizing and thinking, and it takes a lot of time. Although the puzzle is very simple, but you are taking a lot of time. Because I can't listen to you, that I'm just helpless. But it is what you have seen. But if you are also aware what is the formula, what is the technique of counting it, then the entire question becomes very, very simple. That is where what is the importance of the missing link, missing idea? Because there is a gap of understanding right now. That's why you are not able to answer the question. And now my answer is just see what is the pattern. I have given all those squares which I have presented my question. Simply, if it is 1, then 1 into 1, or 1 square is equal to 1. If there are 2, then 1 into 1 plus 2 into 2, or you can say 1 square plus 2 square, so 5, and so on. Last question was, there are 4 squares in between, the 1 square plus 2 square plus 3 square plus 4 square, that makes 30. Now you see what was the knowledge gap. Because of that gap, you are not able to solve. And bridging this knowledge gap is very important. To solve the very simple puzzles of everyday life also. And similarly, it is important to know the gap when we conduct the research or you supervise the research. Now, why it is very important to have a very serious focus on this part? Now, I've said that a PhD carries with it not only an understanding of a subject, but an exception of advancing understanding in a field through publications. It is not only that you understand subject, but you publish it also. And when you go through research, you go through a lot of publications which have been already done on that particular area or particular topic also. And that is how we develop our understanding of knowledge. And that is very important for every researcher and every supervisor. Now, I'm just giving you a very interesting point, that is Kolb's learning cycle, David Kolb of US, which we can use in this case, how we conduct research. So there, you can see if you move clockwise, there are 1, 2, 3, 4. Clock moves, you move the right side. And the first point is the concrete experience, or which we call feeling. You experience so many things, you feel them, that is everyday life. And second point, you will move clockwise, that is a reflective observation or watching. You feel many things and you watch many things. And when you include this, then you see the right side, 90-degree right side of the circle, which within cycle I have written diverging. That includes component 1 and 2, that is feel and watch. That is first component of this learning cycle. Now we move from 2 to 3. The second was watching, and third is again thinking. That is abstract conceptualization. You think about that. And when you join 2 and 3, it makes the within the circle, you assimilate the ideas. That is think and watch. First, you had felt something, then you watch something, then you think on that issue, and that makes think and watch. And then again you move clockwise, then active experimentation, that is doing. Then you do. When you join third and fourth, that is means now think and do. That makes the third part of the circle. And the last part is 4 to 1, that is doing and again feeling, that is accommodating. What you have felt, what you have watched, we have think, what you have do, that is the last, when you actually do it, that is accommodating, that is feel and do. That is again moving from active experimentation to concrete experience. That is how you go through your research work also, where the Kolb's learning cycle is very helpful. Now, all of us know that a research is a systematic presentation of any issue, whether it is social science, it is pure science, or it is humanities or anything. But there are certain components are there which may be highlighted in some streams of education, or less highlighted in some streams, but normally they have some specific components that I am presenting. That is, title is there, the abstract is there, then reflective inquiry, which has many components. That is background of the study, problem statement, literature review, research gap, theoretical framework, objective research question or hypothesis. And then again you move forwards, that is the research methodology, which includes research design, research setting, sample size, sample technique, data analysis. And then finally move towards finding a result, discussion, conclusion, remarks, and references. These are a simple structure of all thesis writing. And out of all these components, each component is very important, but I am focusing on 2 components of this entire structure. That is the literature review and research gap. These are 2 important concepts. Now the issue is, when we discuss these 2, means we actually try to find research gap in literature review. That is why I have included 3 and 4. That is visible to you on your screen. Now, what is 3 and 4? And for that, you must remember there is a system of 2S, alphabet S, 2S. That is, a literature review may consist of simply a summary of key resources. But in social sciences, the literature review usually has an organizational pattern and combines both summary and synthesis, that is 2S, often within specific conceptual categories. Now, when you review literature, it means it can be books, it can be research papers, it can be monograph, it can be reports, it can be anything. But actually going through so many types of literature, what you actually conclude, that is the summary of each paper, summary of each book, summary of each report, summary of each discussion, arguments, etc. You summarize it. Entire book you summarize it in 2 or 3 sentences. That is summary. And what is synthesis? A summary is a recap of the important information source, which you give a brief idea about the literature that you are quoting or using in your thesis. And the second is synthesis, which is a reorganization or reshuffling of the information in a way that informs how you are planning to investigate research problem. Means you join all the points of the literature review or the summary. And I'm not focusing on how you do literature review, but I will just come to that briefly. It can be alphabetically, it can be time bound, it can be chronological order, time, etc., etc. Then you take the important papers, you get the summaries of the papers, and then you summarize for your own use or your own subject or your own topic. Therefore, 2S are very important. Now, when we go through this literature review, there are some features of literature, how you analyze it. There is analytical framework also that I want to discuss. Now, to be very brief, the literature review might give a new interpretation of old material. It is very common that you interpret in a new way of the material that is already available, or combine new with old interpretations, or you can combine this new interpretation with old interpretation also. That can also be a part of literature review and analysis. Then trace the intellectual progression in the field, including major debates. Then you suppose your topic is a very modern topic, but there are a lot of literature work done in earlier time also, maybe in decades or maybe centuries also. You trace the progression in that field, how this issue has been progressed with passage of time, and how many debates have occurred in that field also. Arguments and counter arguments for that particular issue. Then you also trace that review also for your own consumption. Then, depending on the situation, evaluate the sources and find out the most pertinent or relevant research. Because it is a lot of material available, oceans and oceans of literature available, but you are not supposed to go through all this or to present all this, because you have only a couple of pages of your thesis to devote on this literature review. That is why you find out which are the most relevant, more pertinent, most important components, sources that you must include in your research. Usually in the conclusion of the review, identify where gaps exist in how a problem been researched to date. That is very important. The issue that you are tackling with in your research must have been discussed by earlier researchers also. Now you have to see how they have done in earlier time to focus on that particular issue, and where they have not focused. That is very important. That is this I'm starting, that you can understand what the term review literature analytic framework means. Now question is why literature review is important part of your thesis. That just mentioned, by literature review you can understand very clearly what approaches have others used. For any field of research, you must be able to understand for that particular issue, that particular field, what other researches earlier to you have utilized, what approaches have been taken by them, and why are these approaches unsuitable. That is the gap. Because what earlier researchers have done, when you think that was not proper, that is not suitable, then you go for your own area, that is the where gaps exist, what has not been done so far. That is the second issue. And the number three, how is your problem different from those of others? You might be focusing on some different dimension of the same issue, which has not been touched by the earlier researchers. And therefore, you can establish that your question, your problem is different from the other researchers on the same area or the same issue. Therefore, finally, we can conclude what we can learn from, number one, other approaches to similar problem. What other approaches were initiated for the particular issue, or similar problem to other approaches. Very interesting. Other approaches, similar problem, or similar problem to other approaches. That you can understand only when you focus on literature review. Now, some more clarification on this part. When you do literature review, first issue is set your work in the context. Because area of research, that field of research is very vast. Out of that, you have selected a particular component, which can be very brief. Then your work has to be confined to that particular area. And that you can do only when you go through the review. That is why avoid wasting effort. Problem has already been solved. Therefore, you should not devote your time unnecessary to those issues which already have been solved by the early researchers. Don't do duplication. Don't do repetition. Because that is not, if you duplicate it, you repeat it, the work already been done by the early researchers, then again Einstein has come. If we know what has been done so far, is it research? Then it is no. Research means novelty. Research means newness. Research means adding something new to the existing knowledge in that particular area. You understand that when your thesis is sent to an examiner, the examiner has to answer some questions. The first question is, do you think that this thesis has added something new to the existing knowledge on the subject? If he sees that is no new thing, then your thesis may be rejected or may be sent back for revision. Therefore, the most important purpose is it must have some new element, some new interpretation, some new idea, some new analysis, some new answers to unresolved questions. Therefore, it should not be duplication of the work which has already been done by the early researchers. And if you see some results are controversial, there are arguments and counter-arguments, then you must check which is the correct. And research literature review is actually a state of art that you have to extend and build on the work of the others. Because what work has already been done, then on that basis, that is only the base. Now you have to construct your building, your work on that base. The research literature review provides you the base, and a new design of your construction building is based on that base. That is the foundation to construct a building, and building must be new, and foundation is based on the literature review. Then lastly, locate your own research within the context of existing literature. The literature from various sources available. Now we have to locate your own research. What is my idea in the vast sea of literature review, and what is my context which can create the newness of my research. That is important. Now we can see we have a lot of literature review, and also the amount of published research also. There are published researches and also the literature review also. Now you have both the sources at your hand, within your reach. Now how through that you develop your own idea? That is a very simple presentation I have made to understand this idea very clearly. That is, this is the diagram on x-axis that I have written amount of literature reviews, and on y-axis amount of published research. Their researches have been published and reviews are also there. Now if you move on x-axis right side and y-axis upward side, the amount of review keeps on expanding, and if you move on y-axis, the amount of published work keeps on expanding. If on both axes you take the small portion on y and x, then on your screen there is green part comes. On y and x it is small part. It means the need for identification of research questions. When you look at the research review in a small quantity and published research or also a small quantity, you think there is a need for the identification of research questions. That gives you this idea. But if your x-axis is small but y-axis is higher, that is the blue words on the left side on the higher part, that is need for literature review. It means if literature review is small and amount of published is more, then you focus the point that need for literature review. Now you come on x-axis, larger portion x-axis, a smaller portion on y-axis. Then on the right side, there is violet color is there. That is need for review, pointing out the need for more research. Because published amount of published research is less. Then it points out need for more research. And finally, when on x and y-axis, both are larger areas, then ultimately you reach to the topmost right point, that is the red point. That is a new term you may see, that the need for a review of reviews. Usually we think review only, but now I'm giving a new idea that amount of literature review should be more, amount of research should be more. You go through more and more, then you realize actually there is a need for review of the reviews also. Don't take the reviews as such. but there is a need to review those reviews also. And that is the newness, that is the new step, new idea for your own research work. I hope it is very simple. Then there are some steps also involved with this literature review. Why do we need the literature review? There are very simple idea. With a very simple diagram, I can show you the different components of this literature review. Why do we need literature review? You can see from top to again move to clockwise. The first point I have written in between the circle, what is the purpose of literature review? On top point, you can see, find out what information already exists in your field of research. Whether it is science, or it is social science, it is humanities, in any field. The first thing is you have to find out what information already exists, already available in your particular area of research. Then number two is identify gaps in literature. Through that information that you have to identify the gaps. The third point is find other people working in your field. Because if you have chosen a particular field, you are not the sole researcher, but many researchers in many different parts of the country or the world must be doing some work on that area also. That your next step is just you try to find out what other people are doing in this work, in that field. That you can go through what other publications are coming, new publications coming out. That will give you idea what development is being taken place in this field and focused on by other researchers. Then identify major seminal works. On one hand, you are doing literature review, and on the other hand, you must see what important work has already been done in that particular area. That will give it concrete understanding of the issue and the progress made in that particular field. Then you have to identify methodologies and research techniques which you apply for your particular area. When you go through all these elements, then you are now able to identify the methodology and research techniques that you have to use, because there are so many different methodologies and so many techniques that are used, so many applications, so many statistical measurements are also there. Everything differs. Therefore, you have to find out what is the most suitable methodology and most suitable technique for your particular work. Then identify main ideas, conclusions, and theories, and establish similarities and differences. Because you have vast experience of the background, then you can see what are the similarities and what are the dissimilarities of the ideas that has emerged with passage of time in your field of research. Then you have to provide a context for your own research. With this background, now you have to decide what is your area of research, what new you can add in that field of understanding, etc. And show relationship between previous studies or theories. This is very important, because when you are moving towards the new idea, but the roots of those new ideas are actually the old ideas. Therefore, you must show relationship between what previous theories and studies have been made in that issue and what is your own theory or what is your own study. It is very important. When when we drive a vehicle, motor car, or motorcycle, why there is back view mirror is there? We are moving ahead, but you also look back. Only then you reach safely to your destination. The same thing is here. You look at the past, you are living in the present, but you are looking for the future. To make a better future, to make a prosperous future, to make a useful future, you must look past and work in present. That is the link of the time link. Therefore, very important. Previous studies and theories are very important to understand where you have to go. Now, there are some steps in identifying research gaps in the literature. There are three main steps that I'm talking about right now. Number one is focus your research area. Naturally, every researcher has a different research area. So don't waste your time in other research areas, but you have to concentrate, devote maximum time in your research area. Then map out the literature. The second step is map out the literature. What literature is available in that area of research that you have chosen. And third is read, and then read some more. You keep on reading, you keep on looking back, you keep on reviewing. That is very important. Now, briefly, we can discuss all three. Now, first focus on research area. Just very briefly, I want to tell you what the meaning is. I hope it is very simple. The first step is small, bigger step is second, and biggest step is number 3. Now, focus on research area means before you start trying to identify gaps in literature, you need to figure out what your area of interest is. And then focus on and narrow that research area. In many fields of subject, maybe science, social science, or literature, you can find there is a vast area. Then from that area, you have to narrow down your particular issue, your particular topic. That is from macro to you have to come to micro issue. What is your particular issue on which you will go for research? And if you fail to do so, then work will be very difficult. That is second bullet point I have written. If you don't narrow down your initial research area of interest, you will end up wanting to research everything. And that is totally sheer waste of time and effort and energy. And because if you do that, then you will overwhelm yourself with all research gaps you find, because there are still a lot of unanswered research questions out there. A good research is that which focuses on a very small issue, but deals with that small issue in a very effective and broad way. Issue is small, analysis is large, and vice versa. Issues are many, but analysis is small. Naturally, the first point is good. You have to narrow down, specify, sharpen your idea, focus on a particular point, and don't get yourself overburdened. That is the good research. For that, you have to do some exploratory research. You have to read some ebooks also. Not on nowadays, ebooks are available in plenty. Any journal, any research paper, any book is plenty available from ebooks. You have to go through that also. The second step was map out the literature. That I have first focused on the first point. Now, second step, keep track of what the authors told you and the questions that occur to you whenever you read anything. Whenever you read anything, actually, you have to see what the idea of the author is. And going through that literature, what questions arise in your own mind. For that, you have to use mind gaps, tables, charts, pictures, post-it notes to map out the literature, whatever works for you. You have large variety of resources and ideas available. That is also important. In the box I have written, research each of your questions to see if there are people out there who had the same questions and found answers to them. That is very interesting, because you may have a number of questions for your particular research work, but first thing you must do that you have to see whether some other people, other researchers had the same questions and had to find answer to same questions also. And if you don't find any answer to your questions, then probably you have found a research gap, from which you can develop a thesis hypothesis. When you look at the questions and found answers, and if you see that other researchers have not given any answer to such questions, they remain unanswered, That is the best point of understanding that you have arrived at research gap. Now you develop your thesis on that issue which has not been answered by others. Now, third and last part was read, and then read some more. We devote a lot of time and lot of pages in literature review, and actually it is a never-ending story. Till the time your thesis is at the printing or typing level, you keep on reading, because every day something new can be there. Don't think that first couple of months is only for review, then we proceed further. You proceed further, but you must understand, then you always find some time for new literature, new ideas, and you keep on editing and re-editing of what you have done so far. Therefore, you have to read a lot of articles, resources, and you must pay attention to the introduction part, because that very briefly summarizes what the author has in its mind. And you have meta-analysis, synthetic reviews, literature reviews, many things are available in that area. Using techniques and tools may be useful, but it does not help at all if you don't read and keep reading. You might have some experimental techniques, some statistical tools, etc., etc., but that will be not useful if you don't read and keep on reading. Again, I am quoting Albert Einstein, very, very interesting quotation for everybody's. He says, if you want your children to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. And if you want them to be more intelligent, read them more fairy tales. That shows the emphasis of more, read more, listen more, write more. That is, more is always important. That is why I have mentioned read, and then read some more. That is never-ending story. Now I'm just coming to how a literature review will be helpful to us to finding literature gap. There are again 6 dimensions of that entire concept. Number 1 is look at published literature for inspiration. Plenty of literature has been published in your own field of interest. So first you have to do is to look at the published literature that will inspire you, motivate you to do something new. Then ask your research supervisor support, because researcher, suppose you are supervisor and you research scholar is going through the published work, then he will ask you, sir, what I have to do? Then as supervisor, you have to support your student. And if you are a research scholar, then you have to take support of your supervisor. In higher education, which I believe that there is very, very close bondage between a research scholar and supervisor. Research scholar just becomes a part of your family. Therefore, you must keep on helping the research scholar, must keep on pushing him, promoting him to do better, inspire him, ask him to work harder and harder, read more. That is, as a supervisor, is your duty. Because he has no other source but his supervisor as the guide. That was the second point. Then using digital tools to look for common subjects or most research papers. Now you have a lot of digital tools available which can be used easily to focus on the area, the subject, research papers at your fingertips also, which was not available some decades ago, but it's now very easy. A lot of research trails are there that will focus on next point, from where you can get many ideas. Then fourth one is check prominent journal websites. I'll just show you some selected websites also, or journals also. From there you can get information and make your questions a note. When you go through such literature, then you keep on noting them and make your questions. What questions arise in your mind after going through such vast area of literature that available to your fingerprints. Then finally, study each of the questions. You may have 10, 15 questions. You study each of the questions, and then you select what questions would you like to focus on. Narrow down the number of questions, narrow down your area of research, do vast work on narrow area. That is most important thing. If you have seen my cover page, I have used that issue in my cover page also. How you look at this issue, that is there. Research. This is how you go through it, how you narrow down your work. That is very, very important. Now, these are the 3 steps that I have mentioned, and the steps to identify research gap, and what I was mentioning, point 3 I was mentioning, and point 4 I was mentioning. Look for common subject most research papers and check prominent journal websites. Number 4, that there are some, and most of you must be knowing that, and it is your responsibility to tell your research scholars also. You just check these websites where you get ample and ample of the material for your work. I have just mentioned some sources. Everybody knows that. That is Scopus, and I have just mentioned briefly what you get through this research trails. Then you have EBSCO, then a Google Scholar, which is all accessible websites available university level, college level, and even individual level also. Then you have ResearchGate. There's JSTOR also, there's digital library, there's Microsoft Academics, and there's ABDC also, that is Australian Business Deans Council. So there's a few that I have selected for reference, and you have many more, and that helps you to understand the subject, helps the research scholars to get the vast literature available on that particular field. Now, moving a little further, there are 3 different ways. When you conceptualize the literature review, there are three ways. Then I will take that 3 ways also. The one is literature related to issue A of the topic, because the topic may contain one or more than one issues. For your research topic, there can be one or more issue containing in that brief research topic. Therefore, there are different literature for the component A or issue A of the topic, then issue B of the topic, issue C of the topic also. Because one research issue is not based on only one particular point, but there are so many factors, so many components are also related to that particular issue. And therefore, you have to do issue-wise literature review also. And then finally coming to the point, how you find a research gap during a course of literature review. There are 3 different ways that I will briefly tell you. 3 different ways of doing that thing. The ways are as a funnel, or as a jigsaw puzzle, or as a timeline. So what is a funnel? What is a jigsaw puzzle? What is a timeline? These are the different ways of getting the research gap or narrowing down the question of your research. Briefly taking one by one. First, I take as a funnel. What we get as a funnel, the first is, if you look at a circle, you may find the blue color is there. That is research in your field broadly. Broadly. We can say, take many examples. Suppose the field is global warming. Field is global warming and emissions. Suppose this is the field. The broadly, you will get many literature, many sources, many journals, many books, many reports, many meetings on this particular area. That is the blue one is, which is vast of the circle. Research in your field broadly. Suppose global warming or emissions is my area. Now, research on your general topic. Now, global warming was the field, and general topic is emissions. Naturally, now yellow part is smaller than the blue part. From the global warming, now you jot down to general topic of emissions. Then research on your specific topic. Because among the emissions, there are greenhouse gases. Your specific topic is methane emission. Then the pink one is methane emission, from broad to general to specific question you have a right. And then you see what work has been done on methane emission issue, what analysis questions have been raised, what questions have been answered. Then the green one is you after doing this, you arrive at the questions that have not been yet answered, research that need to be done. You see that lot of researches, lot of questions, work have been done on carbon dioxide emission, but very small, negligible research has been done on methane emission. And no question has been asked how to control the methane emission, etc. That is means now you have at a research gap. This is research gap that you would begin to fill your work. I think it is very simple. Blue is the largest area, yellow is a smaller, then pink is still smaller, and then finally you find the gap is the smallest gap, and that smallest gap you have to fill, and the vast work is needed to fill the gap. Then you have to answer the unanswered question. That is the new addition to this field. Now, suppose now the question is, how do we go through this area? How do the blue from blue to pink, yellow to pink, and finally green becomes? That is, I've written there are three different ways. First method is funnel. As a funnel we do it. You see, I have the diagram of the funnel. The red part, red color is the broadest, then smaller is blue, and then the smallest is green. If you look at the red, that is introduction, scope, and structure. You see the right side and left side, what I have written red. That vast area gives you the background. More to do with your topic area than your research question. Just I told you, your research question related to my example, it was the methane gas. But the background gives you not only methane gas, but carbon dioxide also, carbon monoxide also, all different greenhouse gases in a small or large quantity. That is not directly related to your research question, but an area which is important to understand your own question. And on left side, I have written that distantly related to your work, because your work in my example was methane. But you have seen major works on carbon dioxide also, but that is also important, but distantly related to your work, because that is also important factor of global warming or climate change that I was referring to. That's the broadest area. Then second part is narrow categories. You may deal with sources in more detail. That is closer to what you are doing, but not mass directly. Now from that you come across, okay, there are 2-3 gases which are most important, may have common sources of emission, may have a different source of emissions, etc. Then you narrow the categories you may deal with. And finally, the lowest part, green, is categories close to your research, and you may find you are looking at the few key papers in detail. From climate change or global warming causes, you have to come greenhouse gases. Finally, you have arrived at the methane in my example. The research that is pertinent to your work, because now we have to focus only on that part, not on other parts. That is as a funnel from broad to narrow down, and you arrive at your own issue. Now, second is as a jigsaw puzzle. It means there are various studies done related to your topic directly or indirectly. There can be topic 1, topic 2, topic 3, topic 4, etc. The left side of the rectangle is the introduction. There are so many topics come to your mind, and right side bottom is the conclusion. Then some research questions study directly or indirectly related to a question. You can see the topic 1 may link with topic 4 or with topic 3 also. There is so many topics are interlinked. Topic 2 with the topic 4, topic 3 with topic 2, etc. After going through this jigsaw, you match all the blocks, then you find the conclusion. All of us have done jigsaw puzzles in our childhood days. The same thing is here. There are so many scattered topics where directly and indirectly linked to each other. Then finally you have to set all the topics, see the relationships or linkages, and then you can drive the conclusion. That is jigsaw. And third is as a time frame, timeline. That is the chronology, time frame, how the issue has developed from past to present and going to future. When you do literature review also, sometimes you focus on the literature review on chronological order. What important papers were in 1980s, then 90s, then 2000, and so on. What discussions, what theories have taken place in past, then present, and moving towards future. That is examples of key development through time. Background time, past time, then current theories, present time, and then direction your research will take for the future. Because your future is always looking to solve the questions which have not been answered till date, neither in past, not in present. That is, you are moving to the future date of your explanation. That is, on the basis of timeline also, you can find a research gap. Now, there are some elements of also literature review, just very simple, and I will just speedily go through that. That is, it presents a current state to the field of demonstration, the breadth and depth of work that has been done so far. Vast work must have been done by the early researchers on that particular area. Therefore, by literature review, you understand the quantity, the quality, the depth and breadth of the work has been done so far. And because they identify gaps where more such work is needed. Because through that you can understand, okay, now this area has been touched very briefly and it needs to fill the gap, develop some new ideas also. Because literature review actually summarizes, analyzes, and accesses such a knowledge about a topic. Therefore, you have 4 elements, that is search, select, extract, and write. First, you have to search the literature, a vast literature, then select a few only. Because when you write a thesis, you may have 500, 600 such papers available on that particular area. But out of those hundreds, you have to find only a couple of papers, say 20, 30 only. That is, first you search, then you select which is the most pertinent, most important, most relevant for your own work. Then you extract, then you give the gist. That is the funnel of green was that there. You don't write or present entire paper as review, but the entire paper is presented as a gist or a summary in only 2 or 3 sentences. That is extraction. From the entire paper, you extract 1 or 2 sentences as conclusion, as the focal point, as the answered question, as the unanswered question, from where you can develop your own issue. And then you write. Then you write your literature review. And from that, you come to the issue of literature gap also. This is one. Then second can be another area which is known as nesting. Nesting is a very interesting idea or a process. When conduct research, oftentimes your topic will have ideas or concepts that can be explained multiple ways. Because any area that you are talking about, that can be discussed in many ways, or many words, synonyms can be used for that particular issue. Then you have to nest, you have to jot down. I've given you some example. For example, teenagers. Suppose the topic is teenagers. Maybe their contribution in economy, maybe their psychological issues, or any area of a subject. The teenagers might be described as adolescents, youth, teens, or young adults. So many words are there. Therefore, you have to select how these are different words and papers on different words relate or not related to your topic. That is called nesting. Similarly, the very important word is now renewable energy. Now, this renewable energy term can also refer to clean energy, green energy, new energy, etc., etc. That is nesting. Similarly, higher education, it can be referred as in so many ways. Just 1 minute, please. Just 1 minute. Just hold on, please. 1 minute. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Just hold for 1 minute. 1 minute.
Okay.
1 minute. Okay. There's some technical problem is there. Just hold 1 minute. Yeah, it is visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, okay. Just now nesting. I was telling you that there are so many synonym words that can be referred to as for your research. That nest means you combine all those words to understand in a better way. And the nesting can be done in many ways. We can use as a parathesis. That is, many terms can be used. Just as you are mentioning teenager, that is teenager or teen, or adolescent, or youth, or young adult. You can use the word or. And also Boolean operators, we can use and also. Just I'm giving some very examples, good examples. Maybe it can and, or, not, and not. These types of words can also be used in simple words for Boolean operators. How do you use it? Just I'm showing you how it can be used. Suppose you are using the term and. There are two issues, growth and environment, which is very pertinent nowadays, especially SDG, that is goals, sustainable development goals. You can have a particular issue of research which involves growth as well as environment. Then you can join these two when you include growth and environment simultaneously. The and links between these two words of your review of literature also. Or second can be, suppose growth or environment. You separate this. In this case, either you are focusing on environment alone or growth alone. I hope it understand. It is totally different from the earlier presentation, which I have in, that is Boolean. That is growth environment can be used simultaneously in one particular topic, or you can separate this topic, growth or environment. Or one more interesting part, you can say growth, not environment, where you use the term not, use the term not for the Boolean operator, that is not. Or you can see all the three. I think it's very simple, growth and environment, growth or environment, growth not environment, or environment not growth. So this is very interesting for your literature review, and from where you synthesize your actual literature review to get the conclusion. As I told you, literature review is a never-ending story, but remember, you have to start at a point of time, and then you have to close it down also at a point of time. You must know where to start, where to stop, but that stop is not the final stop. But as I told you, till the time of research completion or typing, you may keep on adding or subtracting some of your literature review also. Therefore, it is a continuous process, but you have to stop at some point of time so that you can move to next area of your research, your next topic of your thesis writing. Therefore, the question is, when do you start? When do you stop? But I have written, literature review should continue throughout the research process. Direction, emphasis, conclusion of a thesis may require modification to take into account of the publication of the new piece of work.
Suppose you are almost at the end of your research work, almost at the end of it. Suddenly you come across a new research paper, which is very interesting, very important, which gives you some new ideas. Then you don't delete that, but you add that. Even after stopping the literature review process, you must include that point also, but that make your research more valuable, more update. Although research work has to be stopped at some point of time. Therefore, when doing research review, you must have an idea of one new thing, that is alphabet C, 5C of literature review. That is cite, compare, contrast, critic, and connect. There are 5 C's. When you do literature review, you must focus on cite. You cite the examples, cite the sources. You compare author A and author B, conclusion A and conclusion B. You give the contrast or similarities also. Then you have the critic also and your critic also. And it connects all the things to draw the final question of your research paper. And if you want to go for more detail of literature review, there's a very good book that I have mentioned. A book is by Diana Ridley, very famous book, that is literature review, a step-by-step guide for students. And I will also ask all the participants that you must suggest this book to your students, researchers also who are doing research, so that you will understand in a very great way what are different steps are required for a very good literature review also. Now I have focused much on literature review. Now some time is left. Then I focus last point, that is how to find a literature gap. Now what is important from literature review to literature gap. When you raise the question unanswered, then you get the answers have been given so far, and then you have the new questions and new answer. That is the literature gap, finding literature gap. It is a long story, but I'm taking a very short time so that we can sharpen our issue in a nutshell. Now, my question is, you continue to ask critical questions to your topic: who, what, when, where, and how. Because this will not only explode your research done so far, but it is possible to find gaps also when you do this thing. It can be used through the charts, Venn diagrams, maps, etc., which can organize to find out the gap, what persists there in your literature review. Then, if you are working on an original research, you will want to identify a need for research. Suppose they are doing some new research. What is the need? What is the importance of that research? That in the very beginning, you have in your introduction part also, you have to focus on this point. This is best done by surveying the current research and then identifying a gap that you are going to fill. You have surveyed the literature review and identified the gap. Now you're going to fill. That is, explain what had been done and what is lacking or need to be done. Literature review gives you the idea of what has been done so far and what has not been done, incomplete. Therefore, identify the gap where you fit your research. That is the green gap that I've shown in the picture, green area that you have identified and where your research actually comes. Now, in simple words, when you say what is research gap, we say it is actually missing or insufficient information. It is deficiency of literature review. Or it is a gap that limits the ability of decision makers from making decisions. Because the ultimate purpose of research is, it should be useful for society, it should be useful for decision makers, useful for the government. That is your suggestions. So unless you identify the gaps, then how can you give the suggestions? Because due to the existing gaps, the policy makers are not able to decide to frame a new policy, to launch a new scheme. That is why gap identification is very important, and answer of that suggestion is very important. And for that, we always say that there is a thumb rule for the research gap. Thumb rule, established rule. And what is very simple, that the three sentences will give the whole idea. That is, what do we know? When you do research review, now you conclude that what do we know? Number two, what we don't know. Because to review, you can understand what has been done, not done so far, and what is done so far. And then third is most important, why we need to know that we do not know. If you read these three questions together, that gives you the concrete idea, rule of thumb of research gap. What we do know, that you can answer only through literature review. What we don't know, this can also be answered through literature review. And then on the basis of these two questions, then you say, why we need to know the questions that we don't know. That is the relevance of your research. That is the justification of your work. That is the utility of your work. That is the final conclusion and suggestions to the policy makers. And also the third question actually gives the idea for further research on this issue. The last pages of your thesis focus on this third point, and this third point can be answered only when you go through first and second. That is rule of thumb. That your goal should be to find a space or opening for contributing new research. That is first step to gathering reference articles you want to know, and use the method with quantitative method, qualitative method, mixed method, many methods are there. And then you try to fill the gaps, and the gaps are of many types. It can be expressed in the empirical gap, knowledge gap, evidence gap, population gap, theoretical gap, or so many gaps. That is, you have to fill the jigsaw through that gap. That is the research gap, where your research work focusing is. Therefore, there are two issues. There are main two issues for the researcher. Number one is identification of the research gap that you identify through the review, and then presentation of the research gap. Then you write the research gap, and then your work focuses on that part only. And you can see in the picture, the yellow one is number one, and blue one is number two. The effort for blue one to fill that gap, to make the circle complete. That is the main issue. Then how do you find? It is relevant theories, reviews, synthesis, future research directions, empirical studies, though these all help you to find that research gap. And there are some steps. I think I have already discussed that. Focus on relevant theories, literature review and synthesis. There are limitations by the researchers and your research also. Empirical studies made. Therefore, by this, you arrive at a knowledge gap in your field of work. But it is not only the research gap and the filling the gap, but also your gap should be a farmer edge, a sharpening, pinpoint, very specific, very clear. That makes your research valuable. That I have written, instead of searching for gap in literature, look for an edge to work on. That sharp edge, that cutting point makes your thesis worthwhile, valuable. And taking on that, you develop it further, improve it further, answer open questions, or taking it in an area of new direction. That is the ultimate aim of a good researcher. Because you will always like that your research has some valuable contribution to society, which can be of practical use, theoretical implications, suggestions, analytical contribution that will certainly contribute in socio-economic development of any country. Now there are a few steps, but I'm just skipping because of paucity of time. Just what is the actually system of doing research problem? There are 5 steps. Number one is specify the research objective. That is step 1. Then review the environment or content research problem. Step number 2. explore the nature of the problem. If you have any query, just please tell me the question, then I can answer that also. Then define the variable relationships. You can think about your own research area also, and then you can find the answers to all these questions. And then consequence of alternative course of actions. Then there are 5 different steps in that issue. Number 1 is specify the research objective. That is step number 1. You must be very specific to define research objective. I'm just skipping and giving the main point. Then review the environment or context of the research problem. Because every research problem may have some different background, some different society, some different country, some different region. Then you have to review in which environment, in which background your research problem arises. Then explore the nature of the problem, because one particular problem may have many different dimensions. You have to explore that. What is the nature of your own research problem? Then define the variables relationship, because so many elements. Just I gave you example. Suppose you are working on methane emission, it can be relationship between the carbon dioxide also, with some vegetations also, animals also. Then you have to decide the relationship also. Then the consequences of alternative courses of action. What can be there? What are always available for your problem? There are so many options are available, and which possible outcome you are focusing upon in your research. That is the next point. And for that, we always say that researchers must be very smart. Research work is very smart. Smart means when you setting the goals, be smart in your gap analysis. Alphabet S means specific. It is not a gap you cannot fulfill. It is just a hypothetical gap which is unimaginable. It is utopian gap, not like that. It should be practical gap. So first, it should be specific. It should be measurable also. It should not be only imaginative, but measurable also. It should be achievable also. You must be able to achieve that or fulfill the gap also to your suggestion. It should be relevant also to the subject, to society, to the economy, to country. And it should be time bound. It is not that your issue or gap is not for a particular time period, but for the centuries or centuries. But it is a time bound specific objective also. But more than smart, I focus on one more element, that is I smart. Smart is important. Usually smart analysis is done. But more important is I smart. That is, it should also be inspirational. It should also be inspirational. Means your smart work, smart gap, smart filling the gap must inspire others also to do some new work on that also. Whether inspiration to policymakers, whether inspiration to scientists, whether inspiration to decision makers, or so many things. Inspirational also. But nowadays I talk about not only smart, but smarter approach. Smarter approach. That is, you add with the smart E and R. That is evaluated and revised also. Even though you have heard me say it several times now, smarter goal setting means that goals are specific, measurable, achievable, and timely, and that goal should be evaluated and can be revised. It is not ending a story, but it should continue, add something new steps also. That is, after evaluation, you are able to add something new also. That is a smarter goal. Now, the last question is how we present our research gap when we write thesis. I have given you 3 very small paragraphs examples. Suppose one paragraph of example research gap is lack of empirical evidence in India that determine the human well-being and sustainability for urban green infrastructure network. Suppose somebody is doing research on green infrastructure, but the researcher said, what is the gap? Because there is no empirical work has been done in this area. That is the gap where empirical work has to be done, and how it can be done, that is this area. Or you can write, very few studies were found in landscape architecture and urban planning that explore with property attributes, which has positive effect for human well-being, sustainability. But very few studies have been done. Larger studies are required to cover the different dimensions also. That is the gap. And then next is, thus exploratory studies is designed as an extension of the existing world knowledge found in Western European studies and to fill the gap on study in Indian setting. You suppose on some issues, work has been done, exploration has been done in Western countries, European countries, but there is a gap of that work in Indian context, Indian setting, Indian topography. Therefore, research is based on India. That is very important. Now, finally, last point, because we have a couple of minutes more. How do you actually write the sentence? You have done a lot of review, find the gap, raise the questions, but how you write that gap in your sentence? That is, sentence framework is very interesting and very difficult. But it is very simple. I have given you a couple of examples. How do you write the gap in a particular frame of sentence? Just see. Suppose I've given a couple of little attention has been given to dash, 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 dash. Means whatever area research is, you write little attention has been given to this issue, and therefore my research work is giving attention and exploring it in a better way. Or you can say past studies appear to be or have been restricted or limited to this only. Now I am opening a new dimension of this area. That is dash, dash, dash. Or you can write although or in spite of dash, dash, it is not known yet, unclear whether dash, dash, dash. In spite of many work on CO2 emission, it is not known yet and clear whether CO2 emission is caused by human or by nature. That can be sentence that you find. Or you can say past studies have overlooked or neglected to consider or disregarded this. Therefore, my study focus on this point. The review indicate that dash dash, however, nevertheless dash dash. A research has tended to focus on this only, rather than on that. Past research has been unable to resolve dash dash issue, and therefore my research tends to resolve this issue. Emphasis has been done on this dash, less focus has been given to dash dash, and much less known about dash dash. I think you are able to understand what dash appears. Dash is the gap. Everywhere dash the gap in one, two, or more components of your research problem. Or you can write a question that remains unanswered is whether dash dash. Therefore, my research gap is this, and my solution for this is like that. One should logically expect dash dash will dash dash. Again, the gap. Finding thus far has been inconclusive, questionable. Whatever findings you arise at by literature review, you could say the findings by early researchers are inconclusive or questionable, or half answer has been given. No complete or clear perception has been given. Therefore, we need to do research. I have given a couple of sentences here so that you can write in your own way through the help of these sentences how we write. Because the researchers usually face this problem. They have reviewed the literature, find the gap, but the question is how to write. They ask you questions, sir, how to write this issue. Then I have given you some sentences, a frame, how you help your student to write the gap by using any of these sentences that help to understand. Now, that is finally what I had to say about the literature review and the gap, its importance, the theoretical models, etc. And finally, the last sentence, gap is always important, not only in the research, but everywhere. Everywhere. If you don't find the gap, you will not be able to do good research. If you don't find the gap, you will not be able to achieve your objective, touch the destination. It is in every field of life, not only in the thesis writing, but everywhere. You always find the gap in the minds of a student. What questions have remained unanswered to them, and you answer those questions. And finally, in India, everybody loves cricket. Everybody loves cricket. But also gap exists there. See this picture. See this picture. If you want to score a boundary, find a gap. Otherwise, you will be caught behind, or you will be out, or you give a catch. If you want to score a boundary, find a gap. That is the C, Virat Kohli, looking for the gap to place the ball, so score the boundary. That is the objective of every researcher also, to find the gap and score a boundary, means to complete a thesis which is useful, a landmark work, useful work, impressive work, and some new work. With these words, I just conclude in time, 11:30. Thank you for such patience hearing. And I moved a little rapidly because time constraint was there, only 1.5 hours. And I always maintain the time. Therefore, I have concluded everything at sharp 11:30. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your discussion on finding research gap. We received 2 questions, so just a quick response from you, sir.
Yeah.
First question is from Dr. Rajini from Chennai.
Yeah.
The question is, if my topic is new to the particular country or region,
Yeah, that
very
yeah.
limited study reviews
Yeah.
are there in area.
Yeah.
Then how can I collect reviews?
Just see what I have given here. Just see, I think it is visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Dr. Rajni, please see the third bullet, last point. That gives you answer. Expert research studies designed as an extension of existing body of knowledge found in Western and European studies, and to fill the gap on study in Indian setting. Means the particular issue has been discussed, researched in some other countries, but not in India. And if it has not been done in India, then it is scope for very good research. You are lucky enough that very little work has been done in that particular area in India. And that your research will help our country also, because what I have written, every country has a different setting. Socioeconomic structure is different. You cannot use the same idea of Sweden in Indian setting also. Therefore, you have to get the literature review. It is not the vast literature that you need. I will just remind you, you need not go through 500 or 1000 papers on your subject. You may get only 5 papers, and that too for Sweden, Netherlands, or America. But that gives you the idea of what work has been done and how the structure can be used in Indian setting. And I have mentioned what are the similarities and dissimilarities. What is the contrast in that background, in this background, and that your work will be very useful. In spite of that, review of literature will be very limited. It is not required to review 50 papers. You review only 3 papers or 5 papers also. It is enough. It is enough. And on the basis of that, your sentence is, no work has been done yet in Indian setting. Therefore, it is very important to fill the gap for Indian setting. Very little literature is available on this in India. Work has been available in India. Therefore, your work actually is very good and very useful. I hope you got the answer, Dr. Rajni.
Yes, sir. And sir, another question is there, very similar line. It is from Dr. Prasanjit Roy.
Yeah.
Question is, how do we improve our approach to systematic literature review for new research topic at an introductory phase?
Can he give me an example of new research topic? If you give an example, then I can cite number of examples for his particular research topic.
He has written Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, naturally. Now, suppose there is a written Bitcoin. Now, for Bitcoin, you first write the history of coinage. There are so many history of coinage, research has done on coinage, or the system of monetary transactions. Bitcoins is a very, very new area of research, but a lot of literature is also available on Bitcoins also. And then you write similarity and difference, dissimilarities between the Bitcoin through exchange or not through exchange, and how it is a speculation or not speculation. There are a lot of literature available on speculative transactions, whether it is Bitcoin, artificial coin, or it is very good to understand that in view of the so many challenges or negative dimensions of Bitcoin, now the Reserve Bank of India is coming through a new digital coin system, which is authentic and official. And Bitcoin is not authentic and non-official. Then you can write how Bitcoin emerged, how in unofficial channels have emerged in a very big way of gambling or speculations, and what if we go through Bitcoin, what are the precautions that are required, and lot of literature is based on that. Although the concept of is new, area is new, but its area is not that new. It is not a little old area of Bitcoin. In a number of countries, they're using Bitcoins. You find a lot of literature on that also. And to that, after reviewing that literature, you can study or you can analyze in Indian setting also. And when you write Indian setting, what is the futuristic in place of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, etc. Now we are coming towards digital currency of the Central Bank of the India that will connect your past and the future. And recently, in the last month only, experimental process has been initiated by the RBI to use the new digital currency, and that you can link with the Bitcoin, and you can also use why such digitalization is necessary for the safeguard of people of our country also. That is that way how you link it.
Okay, thank you, sir. We may finish the session here. We crossed the time limit, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have to
yeah.
go for a meeting also.
Yeah. No. Time was 11:30.
Yes, already late, sir.
So I'm leaving with a gap, finding gap in boundary by Virat Kohli.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
So thank you, sir, for sparing your time. On behalf of all the participants and HRDC, I would like to say thanks to you. And in future also, we'll request you for some other topics and some other things, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for patience hearing and giving me opportunity to connect with all the students from different parts, but I'm not able to see them or to talk to them. That is the limitation. Okay, thank you. That is the gap. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, welcome.
Okay, friends. So the next session is from Professor Lalvint Luanga, sir. He's just joined and left because session was going on. So I'm requesting him to join again. So be here.